Mu'mineen, salamun alaikum. Just bear with us for a couple more minutes. Inshallah, we'll get the program started in about 2 minutes. Thank you. One, go. Mu'mineen, salamun alaikum. Welcome to this evening's seminar on nutrition and fitness during the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization indicates that good nutrition is essential for not only mere survival, but also for physical growth, mental development, and productivity performance. From pregnancy, while an unborn child is in its early stages of fetal development, through to birth, infancy, childhood, adolescence, and then finally adulthood, adequate and appropriate nutrition plays a fundamental role in a human being's health and well-being. Similarly, regular and adequate levels of physical activity reduce the chances of a variety of health risks and are a key determinant to an individual's energy balance as well as weight control. Ordinarily, both nutrition and fitness are key facets to good health. However, under the strain of the present COVID-19 pandemic, they're even more important, as many of us are living a sedentary lifestyle and may not be giving as much importance to a balanced nutrition. To that end, we have with us Sister Anar Aladina, a registered dietitian, and Sister Zahra Alibai, an independent health, wellness, and fitness professional. Both of these ladies are from our community and quite well known to all of you. We will have Sister Anar speak first, followed by Sister Zahra, who will also be accompanied by her son Ahmad for some physical demonstrations of basic fitness training. After their presentations, we'll inshallah open up our lines for questions. Please submit your questions online using the Menti code on your screens, and we'll try to tackle as many of your questions as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Sister Anar.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm just going to share my screen. All right. So thanks for everyone who's joining. Today, I'm going to be speaking about prioritizing your nutrition during this COVID-19 pandemic. So to start, I just want to start off with this quote. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And I think right now, with everything going on, there's so much uncertainty with everything. The one thing that we do have control over is our health, right? So really paying attention to what you put in your body, how you move your body is so important. So a little bit about myself. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also a certified diabetes educator, and working in diabetes is where I saw firsthand how important nutrition is for our health. There's no cure for diabetes, so your lifestyle is a form of medication. So really focusing on what you eat and how you eat is so important. I saw that firsthand working in diabetes. I'm also a clinical dietitian at the MedCan clinic. which is currently at like not operating at full capacity, so I'm not there currently. And I also have a private practice here in Richmond Hill. Okay, so to start, I wanted to talk about the immune system and kind of give you a big picture of what exactly the system is made up of, because some people are confused. So the immune system is not a single entity. It's actually made up, it's a complex system, and it's made up of tissue, cells, and different organs. So these are a few of parts of the immune system. So we have our lymph nodes. One thing that's missing here is the mucous membrane, which is around the nasal cavity. Then we have white blood cells, which many of you probably do know that that's part of the immune system. We have our spleen, we have the respiratory system, we have our skin. So our skin is our largest organ, and this is the first line of defense when it comes to protecting ourselves. And then we have our stomach and our intestines, so our GI tract. This is a huge role. So 70% of our immune system actually resides in our gut bacteria, like in our gut walls. So this is a big area as well that we need to focus on when we're looking at immunity. So I know this term boosting immunity has been thrown out so much, and I really wanted to speak about it. It is a marketing term. You know, sometimes you'll see foods or supplements being like, oh, boost your immune system. But the thing is, you don't necessarily want to boost your immunity, okay? And I'm going to explain that. So I want you to think of the organs, the tissues, the cells that's part of the immune system. I want you to think of it as bodyguards, okay? So we don't want to increase the number of bodyguards that we have. We just want to increase the quality of the bodyguards. Because if we increase a lot of the bodyguards, they get confused and then they start fighting each other. And this is exactly what happens in our body. And it's known as an autoimmune disorder or issue. So autoimmunity is when your immune system is not balanced, so the scales are tilted. So you always want your immune system to be balanced. So when you're boosting something, you don't necessarily know exactly where that's being boosted, right? Because the immune system is so complex. So you want to just make sure you're having like a strong immune system. So some examples of autoimmune disorders that many of you have heard of is type 1 diabetes. So type 1 is completely different from type 2. Type 1 is when you don't have enough insulin in your body, so your cells are attacking each other. So that's why you need insulin to put in your body. Another immune system or autoimmune disease is lupus, is when your organs are attacking each other and there's a lot of inflammation. Another one is celiac disease. So that happens in your GI tract. So people are not able to tolerate gluten. So the small intestine is completely damaged from celiac. And that's because the immune system is off and they're fighting each other. Okay, so boosting your immune system is not always a good thing. You want your immune system to be balanced. You don't want it to be under, you don't want it to be overactive. You want it to be in an equilibrium. So in today's presentation, I'm going to be talking about how to strengthen your immune system. Okay, so those bodyguards, we want to make them as strong as possible. So how do you do that? So this is what you need to know how to strengthen your immune system. So hygiene, smoking or vaping, your diet, which is what I'm going to be focusing on, exercise, how you move your body, which is what Zara is going to be speaking about, your sleep. You want to aim for 7 to 9 hours per night of quality sleep. Stress, this dampens our immune system greatly, so managing your stress is super important. And with age. So the thing is, all of the above, you have control over. But the last one, obviously our age, we don't, right? So as we get older, our body ages as well. So our body's not able to fight as much as it could as, when we're younger. So age is something that works not in our favor. However, by eating well, exercising, sleeping, managing your stress, you're able to age, in a healthier way. So that, and that helps if you take care of everything else in how you age. And that's why with COVID-19, people who are over the age of 60, they're kind of at a high risk category. And those who have an immune disorder or compromised immune system, they're also they need to be very careful. So with nutrition and immunity, I just want to say there's no supplement or a single food that has been proven to help treat COVID-19. Right now, the two main things that will help prevent COVID-19 is social distancing, which we're all doing, and regularly washing your hands. So this is the only way we can prevent and reduce the spread of COVID-19. However, your diet, especially looking at foods that improve your cellular health, which is what I'm going to be focusing on today, can have a huge impact as well. So I'm going to be focusing on foods that are including fruits and vegetables, fiber, lean protein, and heart healthy fats. So the first nutrient is vitamin A. So vitamin A promotes growth and development, especially with our vision, and it protects our tissue, our skin, and our mucus, okay? So all of these tissues and organs are needed for our immune system and helps with the health of our cells. So it's our cellular health that we really want to pay attention to. So vitamin A is found in a variety of foods. So liver, which I know is not commonly eaten, but it's a huge source of vitamin A. Same with beef, eggs, cheese, along with fruits and vegetables have like an orange or reddish tint to them, as well as fruits and veggies, or mostly veggies that have beta carotene, such as leafy greens. So these foods are really important for your cellular health, right? For your growth and keeping things intact. So the second nutrient that we want to focus on is vitamin C. So vitamin C we get in fresh, or not fresh, it could be frozen as well, in produce, okay? So our fruits and vegetables, that's where vitamin C is highly concentrated. So vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, so we don't store it in our body. So, we get it and then we use it up. And vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant, specifically with our skin. So growth of collagen protects our skin. It also aids in the absorption of iron, and it protects the body of any kind of free radical damage. Okay, so remember, skin is our largest organ, and that's our first line of defense. So vitamin C is vital for our skin. So a lot of beauty products, especially for anti-aging, we see vitamin C because it really does help with our skin rejuvenation. So that's what it does in our body as well, right? With our cellular health. So vitamin C is super important. And again, vitamin C is found in fresh and frozen and canned as well, fruits and vegetables. Then we have zinc. So zinc is a mineral and it's found in all our cells. And its main job is to fight invading bacteria and viruses, okay? The body also needs zinc to make protein and DNA, which is the genetic material in our cells. So it's really interesting because one of the new, I don't know how new it is, but one of the symptoms of COVID-19 is that your sense of smell and taste are impacted. So zinc is actually I don't want to say responsible, but it plays a huge role in how we perceive and taste. So it was just interesting to see that connection. So zinc, there are lots of foods that contain zinc. Usually it's protein-based. So animal foods are a great source, especially oysters or seafood, but as well as poultry, cheese. Some plant-based zinc sources include cashews, seeds, nuts, milk, salmon, and also dark chocolate. So these are foods that are high in zinc. Now, zinc is one of those minerals that, as children are growing, their needs are higher or they change. In times when you're pregnant, your zinc needs are also higher. So zinc is really important for growth, for the growth of our cells and the growth of our body. So this is something that we want to make sure we're including daily in our diet. And the last nutrient I'm going to be speaking about is vitamin D. Okay, so vitamin D is very important. So vitamin D is so important that it acts more like a hormone in our body than a vitamin. And vitamin D is actually the only vitamin that our skin or our body can actually make. So it's made in our skin. When sun hits our skin, it converts into vitamin D3, which is the active form. So vitamin D is really important for your immune system. Okay, it helps protect specifically to your respiratory tract, okay, any respiratory illness. It also helps with growth and development of bones and teeth. It regulates the musculoskeletal system and also is really important for the health of your cell, for cell growth and human cell. And vitamin D has been linked to many other diseases, such as prevention or a role in insulin sensitivity and for thyroid as well. So interestingly, vitamin D is only found naturally in two food sources. It's only found in fatty fish and in egg yolks. But here it's fortified. So our dairy foods are all fortified with vitamin D. because again, vitamin D is really important for our teeth and for our bones. So it's fortified in our food supply. So any kind of milk, so it doesn't have to be cow's milk, plant milks, almond milk, oat milk, they're all fortified with vitamin D. And our dairies as well, and some orange juice too. So I wanted to just take a minute to talk a little bit more about vitamin D, because this is so important and a lot of us are not getting enough in our diet. So this is the one vitamin that everyone should be supplementing, okay? So like I explained earlier, so we have the sun, the UVB radiation hits our skin. So our skin needs to be exposed to sun. So if you're someone who wears hijab, that's a barrier. So you're not getting enough vitamin D. Also, if you live in Canada, right? Our sunlight changes throughout the year, so we don't get a lot of sun. Being in shades, wearing clothing, also wearing sunscreen. We're supposed to be wearing sunscreen. So our absorption from the sun is very minimal. So it's so important that everyone gets their vitamin D levels checked. This, I think, OHIP doesn't cover it, but you can pay, I think it's $10, I'm not really sure. And you can get it tested to see where you stand. So I got my vitamin D levels tested last year and I was under. So I've been trying to remember to take my supplements for that, but it's so important. And like I said, it acts more like a hormone in your body. So when you think of vitamin D, I want you to think of it like a light switch. So we have vitamin D receptors throughout our body, like everywhere. And so when, like a light, when you turn it on, everything is working more efficiently. So that's how you want to think of vitamin D. Okay, it helps with so many different things, especially when it comes to your respiratory tract as well, and for your cellular health. So when it comes to these nutrients that I spoke about, so my whole philosophy is you want to start with food first, right? So that's always a better option than supplementing, because when we eat these whole foods that I spoke about, some of them did overlap, but not only are you getting those nutrients, you're also getting in fiber, you're getting in phytochemicals, other plant compounds that really help your overall health, especially the fiber piece. I mentioned earlier that the immune system, a large part of it is concentrated in our GI tract. So making sure we have good, healthy bacteria, which we get from fiber, is going to help with that. So supplementing is a safety net, but it's not something that you want to rely on. You want to make sure you're getting a wholesome diet. Some supplementation, like for example, vitamin A, it's a fat-soluble vitamin, so it's stored. We don't excrete it readily. So if we have too much of it, it can be toxic to us. Vitamin C is water-soluble, so you don't need to worry about that so much. Zinc, again, if you have too much of that, it could be a toxic effect. And same with vitamin D. So that's why you want to make sure you get your vitamin D tested to see where you're at. Majority of people that I see at the clinic are always low on vitamin D. So, you want to be taking about 1,000 to 2,000 international units of vitamin D. And some people take upwards of 5,000 as well, depending on what their doctor is saying. Okay, so my number one nutrition tip, it's nothing fancy. The one thing that everyone can do to improve their health is to cook more meals, right? To cook more of your meals. This way, you know what you're getting in, you know what you're putting into your food. You're able to be more mindful of some of the foods that you should be including in your diet. So I wanted to put this all together. Okay, so I wanted to put everything together to show you what it looks like to include these foods that have the vitamin A, the vitamin C, and the zinc. Okay, so I have some ideas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I have a variety, so hopefully everyone can kind of relate to what they would choose. So from breakfast ideas, you could do like an egg sandwich. So again, eggs, the yolks specifically, it's high in vitamin D, but also a lot of zinc as well. You got your whole grains and your vegetables here, which is tomato and spinach. If you're not able to eat eggs, oatmeal is another great source, another great whole grain that has that zinc in there. Fresh berries have a high vitamin C content, and they have the most powerful antioxidant capacity, so that's amazing, right? And again, you don't need to use cow's milk. You could do almond milk for that to make it vegan. And then you have toast, right? So instead of using butter on your toast, you can give it a nutrient boost by using an almond butter or peanut butter. Again, you're getting more nutrients that way. And, putting some fruit, avocado and banana are great sources as well. and some chia seeds or hemp hearts, again, to boost the protein and to boost the fiber. So for lunch, some examples, again, you wanna think about getting your fruits and veggies in. And they don't have to be necessarily raw, they could be cooked. So soups are fantastic to do that. You can get a whole variety. So again, the vitamin A that you get from the orange, like the sweet potatoes, the carrots, you really wanna maximize on that. Even doing a cold lunch, for example, a wrap or a salad, the egg, tuna, chicken, it could be a vegetable-based salad, and really trying to take that opportunity to put in, you know, the leafy greens, some veggies in there as well. And then you could just do like a chicken and protein. So these like frozen vegetables, for example, they're just as nutritious as fresh, even more so because they're stored in the freezer. So all the nutrients are intact. The longer our fruit and veggies stay in our fridge, every day it's losing its antioxidants. So by using frozen, everything's intact. So you're not losing any of that. So doing steamed vegetables is just as great as having fresh, and then having your protein choice with that. And then some dinner ideas. So doing like a vegetable-based curry, that's a great example. Again, you're getting your fiber, a lot of those vitamin C, vitamin A, again, you know, having some whole grains, like a roti or whatever, that would be a great source of zinc. Doing a meat curry or a chicken curry, that's fine. If you could swap for brown rice, that's even better because it's a whole grain, so it has that zinc. And then rounding out with some vegetables as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a salad. You could just have cut up veggies as well as a side. And then if you're doing a pasta dinner, you can include some vegetables to that as well. So these are just some simple ideas where you can incorporate some of these vitamins and minerals that are so important for our cellular health into your meals. And then some snack ideas, again, focusing on whole foods as much as you can. So whole foods are foods that are not typically found in a wrapper or in a box. You know, they're found in nature, like in its whole form. So fruits and vegetables are a great example of that. What else? We have hard-boiled eggs, nuts. Those make a great snack because they're portable. They don't need to be refrigerated. Yogurt, popcorn is a whole grain, doing whole grain crackers. These are all examples of healthy, nutritious snacks that you can include in your day that most of us are probably eating, right? So we want to include a lot of those colors for the vitamin C and A. So with everything going on with COVID-19, you know, there is a silver lining to that as well. I know it's a time that's really tricky for so many of us. We don't know the uncertainty, what's going to happen with our health, our jobs, our bank accounts. It's like a stressful time for sure. But, you know, we have a little bit more time. And one of the biggest barriers I get from some of the people that I work with is the time factor. So we have the time right now to focus on our health, right? We can learn how to cook if that's something that we're not used to doing. Plan out your meals. You can actually sit down with your family to have meals now, 3 meals. You know, everyone usually is always so busy and there's always somewhere to run to. And right now we have that time. So really make use of it and have your meals together and get your family involved with cooking and with the meal planning. That's just as important. You know, food is so much more than just nutrition. It's spending time with the family, it's preparing your meals, it's getting everyone involved. And also this is a great opportunity to try new foods or to try out new recipes. I think so many of us are cooking more, and I love that because that's one of the best things you could do for your health. So thanks for listening. We're going to be taking questions at the end, so I'm going to pass it on to Zara, and she's going to be talking about the fitness.
Thank you, Sister Anar. I appreciate the insightful presentation. We'll now pass it on to Sister Zahra.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you, Anar. Thank you, Brother Akil. So I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully we'll get this working. Is that good? Can you guys see it?
No. Can you?
No? Okay.
The screen share.
Hold on. Let's try that again. There, is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thanks, Anar. I learned a lot with that. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can stay active during quarantine. So my name is Zara Alibai. I'm a kinesiologist, personal trainer, fitness instructor. I don't know how many of you guys have maybe done a class. One thing I'm missing a lot during quarantine is my weekly seniors class. So I hope some of you guys are on here, and I promise you, inshallah, at the end of this, we'll get moving a little bit as well. So I just wanted to take a second to talk to you guys about just staying active during quarantine. And I first wanted to acknowledge that right now it is a time of uncertainty. A lot of us don't know what's going on. We're out of our regular schedules, and now it's been about a month. And I think a lot of us started with just like, okay, we're gonna take this time. We're just gonna, try to, first of all, I think a lot of us are like stuck on screens and stuck on the news or whatever that is. And we're out of our regular routine. So even if you don't think you were active before, you're probably not as active now because you're not running your regular errands, right? So if you're going to the gym, you're not getting to the gym, right? You're not going to your fitness classes. You're not moving around, even if it's just going to get groceries or going to get the mail or walking to visit someone, right? We're not doing those little active tasks that we do all day. You might be feeling anxious, low mood, upset, frustrated, right? Like Anar mentioned, there's so many uncertainties right now. And sometimes that can really put a damper on your mood and any type of motivation you might have to get up and to get moving. And that's very, very normal. And I think a lot of people are going through that right now. So we probably do have more time in the sense that we're not rushing, like Anar said, but one thing is that we're not in our routine, right? So if normally you would wake up and go for a walk in the morning, or, you'd come home and you'd have dinner and then you'd go for a walk. So if you had some sort of routine, that's kind of been broken. So maybe you're not as scheduled as you were before. So maybe you're not getting that daily activity that you normally do get in. And I know a lot of us were in apartments, or we don't have space where we can get up and move around, right? If we're in apartments, we're afraid to take the stairs, we're afraid to go outside, right? So you don't have the space. And lastly, you might not have the equipment that you're looking for to stay active. All right, so next, Okay, so staying active. So right now with COVID-19, this pandemic, it's forced so many of us to self-isolate, right? That's the number one way we can stop the spread. And alhamdulillah, in Canada especially, we're doing our job. The numbers are going down. So it's shown that with social isolation or social distancing, we're making a difference in terms of that. So that's great, but that shouldn't prevent us from being active, right? So exercising at home to maintain your fitness right now, or even if you want to try and get into some sort of routine, it can actually help increase your activity levels. And then this will keep your body in shape and it'll keep you healthy, but more than anything, it'll keep your mind active as well. And that's the most important part. So staying active can help boost your immune system and decrease your risk of getting sick. So right now, as we're worried about, this virus going around, being active can actually help you fight off, and increase your immune system as well. So exercise can change the antibodies and it increases the white blood cells, and white blood cells is what helps our body fight and what helps our immune system fight off any disease. So physical activity can also help us strengthen our lungs and clear our airways. So this can help fight off any other illnesses or even the one that's going around right now. So even if you do contract the virus, a lot of times healthier people, it's easier for them to fight it off. Okay, so other benefits of physical activity, because we want to make sure that we're active not just in this time but always, and these are general benefits of physical activity. So it reduces the risk of blood clots. One point in that is right now, because maybe we're sitting a lot more, or we're sitting for extended periods of times with our older population, sometimes that can cause blood clots, right? If you're staying in one position for a very long time. So you want to make sure that your physical activity will help get the blood circulating, right? So it helps improve our cardiovascular function. It helps maintain a healthy weight. There's this joke going on that everyone's getting the COVID-19, gaining that extra weight. And so being physical active will help you maintain your weight. It helps maintain flexibility, any type of movement, right? We're stretching out those muscles. Again, if we're sitting in one position or just a few positions, that those muscles just learn to stay in those positions, we lose flexibility. So you want to make sure that as you're active, you're keeping that flexibility up as well. As I mentioned before, it helps improve mental health and your mood. Right now, more than anything, a lot of times we are stuck at home. There's so much out of our control. And with the few things that we can control, let's really try and take action and do something every day to try and increase our where we feel like we have more control. So like I was saying, with food, we do have choices of certain foods that we eat or don't eat. And also with physical activity, we do have that control of, maybe not doing what we were before, but just getting up and moving a little bit. And that sense of control sometimes boosts your mood and gives you a little bit more of, it takes that anxiety away as well. Exercise, obviously, it helps with bone health and muscle health. It can relieve from any other pain. So again, like I said, if you're sitting around a lot, you might notice some aches and pains, and actually getting up and getting that blood flowing, getting those muscles warmed up a little bit will actually help with any aches and pains you might have. It protects against health conditions, as I mentioned, diabetes, heart disease, etc., and it boosts your energy levels. And it's known, right? You feel lazy to get up and do a workout or go for a walk, but you'll never feel bad after you've done it, right? You'll always feel better afterwards. All right, so there are some recommendations in terms of how much exercise we should be getting. So the WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends, and this was new, they said in the time of COVID, they want to make sure that people are getting active. It's recommended to get 150 minutes of moderate to intense exercise per week. So if you break that down, that's about 20 to 30 minutes of activity a day. And you can further break that down. If that sounds too much, do it in bursts of 10 minutes, 15 minutes each. It's the idea of just building up and trying to get that 20 to 30 minutes a day. Okay, so these recommendations, as I mentioned, are still recommended even during this time, and we're home and we can still try and figure out how to get moving even in the current situation that we're in. So ways that you can stay active during quarantine, there's so many different ways, right? You just have to get a little bit creative. So if you're sitting a lot, just make sure you're standing up, taking little breaks. Alhamdulillah, with us, we have our times of salah, and I think that helps us get up, move around a little bit, right? So use those times if you're getting up and you're going to pray, or if you're, make some sort of routine, and it doesn't have to be overly, I'm going to walk around the house a few times. When you're talking to someone on the phone, make that a time for you to walk around instead of sitting, right? So a lot of times we just get used to these acts, and we just sit and we talk a lot. I know a lot of us are connecting with family, which is great, but if you're talking on the phone, maybe just do it while you're walking around, and that can just increase the physical activity that you're doing. Stretching is really important. Like I said, a lot of times, even us, we take a lot of times, we're watching shows with the kids, we're sitting, we're enjoying, we're reading more, but it's important to get up and to move the body and to stretch as well. Yoga is great as well. And again, like I said, it doesn't have to be, there's no specific thing you have to do. If there's some moves that you've seen or you've done in a class that feel good to you, go ahead and do that. That's totally fine. So if you're looking to get a little bit more intense workouts, you can do HIIT style workouts. So that means high intensity interval training. So it's, picking a couple of exercises, trying to keep your heart rate up the whole time. Strength training, if you have weights at home, that's great. If not, actually, I'm going to get Ahmed to show you how you can use things around your house that can add as a little bit of strength training as well. We're just like we're doing this online. We're so lucky to have so many resources to online classes, videos. So you can go on YouTube, you can search up, like simple yoga stretches. I've done a few videos for the seniors, something that they can do at home, things like that. If you are able to, you could go for a walk. We're still allowed to go out as long as you're keeping that social distance and you're not going to crowded places. If you can get out for a walk for some fresh air, that's great. Like I said, changing your position throughout the day. And even just something as simple as if you're sitting, just taking deep breaths and really getting that oxygen in, taking deep breaths and breathing out. And that is definitely something that can help as well to just, like I said, it just changes your state. It gets you out of a position that you might be in for a very long time, gets you up and moving and breathing. And another thing you can do is just be sure to include your family in what you're doing as well, right? So a lot of times if you're going for a walk or if you're just doing little rounds around the house, try to get your family involved. I've got young kids as well, try to get them moving as well. Just simple things. Anytime we're heating something up in the microwave, they do jumping jacks for as long as it takes for that food to heat up. Just some silly things like that. We're kind of bringing the outdoors in as well. Just letting them kind of move around, bounce around, and be active as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little demonstration. So this is perfect because you guys are at home, so you don't have to be shy about who's looking around. Hopefully you have enough space around you. So what I'm going to get you guys to do is I'm going to get you guys to stand up. I've got Ahmed over here. Do you want to come say assalamu alaikum, Ahmed? So this is Ahmed. He's going to give us some exercises that we can do. So this is something that everybody can do. He's going to show modifications as well. So I'm going to get everybody to stand up. We're just going to move back a little bit so you guys can see him. There we go. Perfect. All right. So the first things first, what I wanted to show you guys is I just have some things around the house that you can definitely use as weights. So these are just simple cans. You can use this as resistance training. This is laundry detergent. It's full. You can use it as well to swing. So he's going to show you a couple of things to do as well. But we're just going to do about 5 to 6 exercises. Whether you have this stuff with you or not, all you need is a little bit of space, and we're going to go through it. All right. So
Sister Zahra, can I suggest that you stop sharing your screen?
Oh yeah, sorry.
The full view of Ahmed, please.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, perfect. Okay, so Ahmed, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to start with marching on the spot. So marching on the spot. So he's jogging because he's a kid, he's got lots of energy. But if you can't jog, just do a march, get the knees up nice and high, and you can swing your arms back and forth. Good. So I'm going to make sure he works up a sweat today, okay? So you guys need to help me as well. There we go. So we're going to go for 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, good. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. So the idea is whatever you're starting to do, you want to get the heart rate up a little bit. So if it's not jogging like he was, if it's marching, that's completely fine. Then we're going to go into squats. So he's going to go sideways so he can show you. You want to keep your chest tall, hands outside in front of you, and just like you're about to sit on a chair. Good. So we're going to keep the weight in your heels. We're going to go for 12 squats. So sit back. Good. Try to keep your chest tall. 2, 3. Good. So if you can't go as low as him, just go a little bit. There you go. Good. Try to keep your chest tall. Good. So don't go as low. So to show people who can't go as low. There you go. Good. We'll go 5 more. 5. Up. 4. Good. 3, 2, and 1. So what this does, it works the legs, it works the quads, keeping your core nice and tight. And then what I'm going to get you to do is just walk side to side. Okay, so we're going to do a lateral side to side, get a little bit lower. Good. So what this does is work the muscles on the outside and the inside, the inner thigh and outer thigh. There you go. Good. And then if you want, you can pick it up a little bit, go a little bit faster. Good. We'll go 10, 9, 8, 7, good. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Good. Now I'm going to show you with this. You can hold on to this. Okay. And then you're going to have your legs out like this. You're going to hold it with 2 hands and you're going to swing like this. So what this does, just adds a little bit of resistance. And so if they can't do laundry for you, just get them to work out with the laundry detergent. Okay. So just going up and down, and this just gets the heart rate up a little bit higher. So you can see he's keeping his core stomach muscles nice and tight, keeping his back straight, but it's working his legs, getting his heart rate up. He's so focused. Let's go for 5 more. 5, good. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect, good. So you can drop that down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into a push-up. So he's going to show you a couple of different ways to do a push-up. So first we'll do it against the wall. Okay, so if you can't, your hands are flat, and then you're just pushing yourself forward and back. Yeah. So if you find it too hard to do a push-up on the ground, using the wall is completely fine. So it's building up strength in your chest, and then, because he's been practicing, we'll go down onto the ground. So full push-ups. Good. And again, just do as many as you can. So we'll do 5 here. 5, 4, good. 3, 2 more. 2, and 1. Good. And then the last one we're going to do, because we're on the ground, is work on the core. So you want to make sure you're working the stomach muscles. You want to make sure here. So you're going to lie on your stomach. Okay. Your hands go under your elbows. Okay. And you're going to lift your hips up to a plank position. Okay. So you want to see in the plank, his back is nice and flat. His hips are straight. So it's almost like if you had something on your back, you could hold that bottle. You could hold that glass of water. You're going to hold it for as long as you can. Good. Pull your belly button up. Good. For 5, 4, keep your head straight. 3, 2, and 1. And back down. Perfect. Good. And then the last one we're going to do, you're going to have a seat. You can sit with your legs crossed. And we're just going to end off with some deep breathing. Okay. So you want to make sure after you exercise, you're also breathing as well. You're also bringing down your heart rate too. So you can just have your hands on your side. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Chest up nice and tall, fill up your belly, and exhale out. Good, we'll do it 2 more times. Breathe in. exhale out. One last one, breathe in and exhale out. Perfect, so that is it. Just some simple things that you can do. Did you work up a sweat? Yeah. Thank you. All right, so anybody can do this at home. It's just simple stuff, and a little bit of space is all you need. But like I was showing you, it's just things that he got his heart rate up, moved his entire body, and this is definitely something that you guys can do from home. So I know there are, if you guys have any questions afterwards, we will be answering any questions, but I just wanted to give you guys, hopefully got some of you guys up and moving, but just again, it can take 5-10 minutes, do that a couple of times throughout the day and gets the heart rate up, and you'll feel so much better afterwards.
Okay, thank you for both of those presentations. We have a couple of questions that have come in already, so I'll read out the questions and request, I guess, the appropriate individual to respond. First question was, or is, how can I maintain a healthy eating when it's so tempting to buy all of the food that's there, or even snack at home? How can I maintain a healthy, balanced eating habit? So if I can maybe get Sister Anar to respond to that question, please.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. No, absolutely. Being out of a routine, especially being at home all the time, you're surrounded by food, right? So that's a great and a valid question. So the number one thing I think you can start off by doing is having a schedule. So if you can get yourself on a schedule so you're waking up at the same time, relatively the same time every day, then you know what time you're going to have breakfast, what time you're going to have lunch, what time you're going to have dinner, and you can schedule in your snacks the way that works for your day. So just making a schedule for yourself, that when are your meal times and when are your snack times, that's also important. Making sure you're getting enough sleep. Sleep is so important because it really helps regulate our appetite hormones too. So if you're staying up super late at night and you're sleeping in, you're not getting that quality sleep, or maybe you are waking up early and you're just going to bed late, but making sure you get that 7 hours at a minimum really helps to kind of regulate your hunger cues as well. And then, yes, we all have a lot more food in our house right now just because we're not going to the grocery stores that often. So if there's certain foods that are really tempting for you, just keep them out of the kitchen, or keep them in the basement if you have one, or in the garage, or just keep what you have in small quantities around you so you're not tempted. Or if you are tempted, you have to kind of go through a lot more trouble to go in the basement or go in the garage to get what you need. So those are some suggestions that can help.
Thank you. I have a question for Sister Zehra. So this individual says that I'm 32 and already diabetic, and I have no desire for exercise, no motivation for a balanced diet. What can I do? What do you suggest?
So I think a lot of us are feeling demotivated right now. So like with diabetes, Anar mentioned, so you just want to make sure that in terms of eating, you're eating the foods that will help with your diabetes. So cutting out sugar as much as you can. With exercise, a lot of times we can't wait to be motivated because then we'll never start, right? So you really have to push yourself. So you have to give yourself a goal. And sometimes it's too lofty, the goals. And then sometimes that also distracts us as well. And that demotivates us because you're like, I'm going to go for a run tomorrow, wake up and run for 5K. And before you even go, it's just overwhelming and you can't do it. So start with small things. So say today, I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and whatever movement I do, I'm going to do. If it's just marching on the spot, if it's just doing a few jumping jacks, and after the 5 minutes, you will most likely be like, oh, I think I can do 2 more minutes, or I think I can do 3 more minutes. So it's just a matter of starting small, but you've got to set that goal of just moving daily. So it's better to move a little bit every day than to move, for a long amount for one time in the week, right? So if you can do little bits every day, that will build. So the first thing I would say is set a timer for 5 minutes. I'm going to move for 5 minutes, whatever it is, even if it's just walking on the spot, whether it's marching up and down, whether it's doing a few of the exercises we just did, and then see how that feels. But you've got to build on that every day. So you can't wait for yourself to feel that motivation or feel that push. You're going to have to start yourself, and doing those activities will perpetuate and want you to do more and more.
Thank you. The next question, how can we stay active in Ramadan, and what kind of foods do you recommend? So I know both of you talked about fitness and nutrition in general, but with Ramadan around the corner, perhaps if you can both touch upon nutrition in the month of Ramadan, and then maintaining some sort of physical activity in the month of Ramadan. So maybe we'll start off with Sister Anar, and then I'll pass it on to Sister Sarah.
Yes. So when we're fasting, obviously we're going through a long period of not eating. So you want to think of it, when you do get to eat, you want to really think of that as an opportunity for you to give your body the nourishment that it needs, because it's not getting anything. So you want to maximize as much as you can on foods that are going to be really good for you. So I highlighted a bunch of examples, right? So having a lot of colors, right? A lot of fruits and vegetables are colorful, and those have the plant compounds, the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber that your body needs, that it needs to function optimally, right? So just really trying to focus on getting whole foods, again, as much as you can. Obviously, you can have, things that are, obviously not like necessarily healthy. You can include that. You don't have to exclude them, but you want to try to think of it as to kind of thank your body for kind of helping you go through this fast, and to give the food it needs so that you can continue to fast. So, staying hydrated, having fruit and vegetables, soup, just having normal foods that are nourishing and give you the energy and the nutrients that your body needs.
Yeah, I agree with that. You had mentioned as well, staying hydrated. I think another thing in terms of nutrition, I'll just add to that, is just being prepared or having a game plan. So for us, now I think this Ramadan we'll be home a lot more, so we'll have time to cook our iftars. But maybe for daku, for suhoor, try to have a few things on hand. So whether it's overnight oats or some things that are already made that you can grab that are highly nutritious and really like dense in nutrition. So that would help. And in terms of physical activity, the fasts are really long. You have to understand that it is a time where you might not have the energy to exercise as much, but the two main times I would say where it probably is best to be active is, again, this Ramadan, we won't be having, mosque as much. So maybe right before iftar, if you can go for a walk. The idea of knowing that you're going to be eating soon sometimes gives your body this idea of I can push a little bit more. So if you are working out, or if you're just going for a simple walk or trying to get some physical activity, the times that are best to do it in Ramadan are right before iftar. And then you can pray, have your, break your fast, have your water, or you can have a light iftar, and then you can work out after, and then have something a little bit later as well. So I wouldn't recommend working out earlier on in the day or throughout the day. I would probably do it later on in the evening when you know that your body's going to be getting nutrients, so that you can quickly replenish, especially hydration, right? You want to make sure that you're hydrating as well. So I would say maybe about an hour to about half an hour before you have your iftar, or I would say about an hour after you have iftar. Those are probably the best times to be active, and you'd be amazed at how much your body can handle. Like at this time as well, it's really important to be physically active as well. So even if you can just get into walking, or just picking like a quick 15-20 minute routine that you can do, that will get you active. Because a lot of times what we'll do is we'll have our iftar and then we'll sit down. And even if we're, participating in everything that's going on, you're still sitting. Even the act of getting up and going to mosque, or, when you're at mosque, it does help your digestion because you're moving around. But right now we're literally not moving as much, right? So if you can figure out some type of routine, that can help you stay active during Ramadan.
Thank you. So two questions, two separate questions, but I'm going to direct them both to Sister Zahra. One is, the first question is, for someone who has osteoporosis, can you recommend some physical activity for someone who has osteoporosis? And the other question, not exactly related, but I'll share with you anyway, and maybe you can answer both of them together. What are the best exercises for someone who has weak knees? Is there something that you can substitute for squats and lunges?
Okay, sure. So for osteoporosis, it's for the bones, right? So a lot of times what you want to do is any type of weight bearing activity where you are putting weight on the bones, that's going to help strengthen them, right? So like we did squats, marching on the spot, if you can do like the side steps we were doing, things like that, any type of weight bearing activity that's going to help strengthen the bones. Start small, and then what you're doing is you're strengthening the bones and you're also strengthening the muscles around the bones as well. So again, based on your doctor's recommendations, but you can do physical activity. You can do simple things like squats and lunges and push-ups. Just go nice and slow. That will help strengthen your bones, and that will also help strengthen the muscles around your bones. And then maybe and I can talk a little bit in terms of nutrition of what types of foods can help with osteoporosis and bone health. In terms of knee pain, a lot of times what it is we might have weak knees, and what you can do is you can strengthen the muscles around the knees. So if you can't do a full squat, do half a squat even. I'll kind of show you here, even just exercises where you're sitting back, and to show you simple ones where you're just even sitting and you're just kicking out your leg like that. What that does is it helps strengthen the muscles around the kneecap, so that can help as well. And you just want to make sure that there's a saying, right? If you don't use it, you'll lose it, right? So you want to try and figure out ways that will help strengthen the joint without injuring it. So if you can do walking, if you can even just go up a few steps and back down, things like that, make sure you're still working those muscles so that the muscles are strong and they can help support the joint.
Thank you. Sister Anar, so maybe I'll have you answer that question about osteoporosis and what you'd recommend for healthy bones. But in addition to that, maybe I'm going to pass on 2 questions to you. The viewer is asking that I can't stop craving sweets. What do you recommend in that regard? And the second question was, is there a limit on the quantity or amount of eggs that I can eat on a weekly basis?
Okay, so let me address the egg question first. So if you don't have any cholesterol issues, you can have an egg a day. So 7 whole eggs a week is absolutely okay. If cholesterol is an issue and you need to be mindful of that, then I would say no more than 4 whole eggs a week. So that's kind of the standard. The second, or the other question that you had mentioned about the sugar, yes. So if you're constantly craving sugar, that's a sign that something in your diet is lacking. That could be that you're not getting enough protein in your diet. Okay, so protein is what keeps you full. So the more protein you have, the longer your body takes to digest it, right? So you're full for a longer stretch of time. Secondly, you want to make sure you're getting enough fiber in your diet. So fiber is another nutrient that really keeps you full. So fiber, when we ingest fiber, and fiber is found in plant foods. Okay, no animal foods will have fiber in it. So fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, beans and lentils, those are foods that have fiber. And when we ingest them, they expand and they take up space. So that really increases the satiety as well. So when you have enough fiber and protein, those 2 nutrients are going to help with curbing those sweet cravings. So, I mean, that's just like a general recommendation. So you really want to pay attention to how much protein you're getting in. You want to make sure at every meal you do have a protein component, and then you also have that fiber component as well. That's what keeps you full and really helps with the sugar cravings. And again, with sugar cravings, it's also sometimes for some people, it's so easy to just cut it out. And once you kind of cut the sugar out, the added sugars, it really retrains your taste buds, and then you can kind of introduce it back in. So that's another effective way to kind of curb the cravings.
Thank you. Can you also comment on the bone health?
Right. So for osteoporosis, so again, vitamin D is really important. So I'm sure that individual is taking vitamin D supplements, which really helps with their bone health. But this is really important for our younger generation to remember that you need to take your supplement, or make sure you know what your vitamin D levels are, so you know if you need to, because that's very important for help our calcium get absorbed in our body. Because you can be having a lot of calcium, but if it's not getting properly absorbed, it's not really doing anything for you. And then for osteoporosis, I know there's certain medications that you do need to take for your bone health. And again, just having a good diet, making sure you're getting in your calcium, your vitamin D, and an overall healthy diet is important too.
Thank you. So the next 2 questions I'm going to pass on to Sister Zara. First one is that I'm fit, but I can't do push-ups. What's the reason for that? That's the first question. Second question is from a young mother or a new mother. She's saying, how do I stay active when I have a 3-month-old infant? Maybe if you can give us some advice for new mothers with young children.
Yeah, for sure. So the first one, I'm guessing it's a female. I know females have lots of trouble with push-ups, and it's just our upper body strength. A lot of times it can be actually your wrist health as well. So make sure that you're properly warming up your wrist before you do push-ups. A lot of times it's a lot of strain on our wrists, and we might have the strength in our arms, but the wrists are weak. So it's really important to just make sure you're keeping that flexibility in the wrist as well. And a lot of times we're on our phones, we're like this, so our wrists are always in this position. So you want to make sure that you're also stretching out the wrists as well. And with the push-ups, you want to make sure that you're in a straight plank position. So your core is involved as well. And a lot of times using those supplemental muscles as well will help with the push-up. And like Ahmed was showing, starting on the wall and then working down to maybe like the edge of a counter or something, and then slowly, gradually working down to the ground. Eventually you'll get to that push-up. Try a couple of full push-ups, and then if you need to drop down to your knees, build that strength up, and then eventually, inshallah, you'll be able to get to that push-up. For young mothers, did she say 3 months or 3?
She has an infant that's 3-month-old. Yes.
Yeah, and I feel for those mothers the most because they're attached at you. It's really hard to get in any type of exercise with them, and also you're not sleeping well, so you're tired all the time. But the best thing I would say is 3 months is old enough for them to sit there, and I think it's such a great way for you to set an example for them to see you being active. So even if you're just doing little things, holding them, doing squats, like doing fun little things while they're around, just kind of incorporating them into your activity any way you can. Like, it's not going to be perfect, you're not going to get a full 20-minute 30-minute routine with them, but I think it's so nice for them to be able to see you being active, and as they grow up, it's a really nice thing for them to see their moms being active. So whether it's you're playing with them and you're getting down on the ground with them and you're playing and they're sitting on your lap and you're doing some sit-ups, things like that, it can be a fun way for you to interact with your kids. And like you said, even if you're going for walks, they can be in the stroller, you can go for a good brisk walk, build up your strength that way as well.
Thank you. So 2 questions for Sister Nar. One is from a lady. She says, I wear a hijab. How do I ensure that I get adequate sunlight? Mm-hmm. That's the first question. And again, second question, again, related to adequate sunlight. Sun gives skin cancer is the question. I'm assuming that the question is, how do you protect yourself so that you're balancing adequate sunlight, so the vitamin D intake, I guess, versus protecting yourself from skin cancer?
Yeah, so those are both great questions. So for skin health, exactly, you need to wear sunscreen, and that's one of the barriers of your skin absorbing the vitamin D from the sun. So even if you could just go out for, I think it's 15 to 20 minutes is the recommended time that you can go out without sunscreen so your body can absorb it. That's a great way to make sure you're getting it in. So just 15 to 20 minutes. Again, you could always take a supplement. So vitamin D is one of those cases where when you, let's say, are worried about skin health, or wearing hijab and are covered, you're not getting that sun exposure. Unless you can go somewhere or in your backyard, if there's no one there, you can make sure your skin is exposed to the sun. That's one way of getting it. But if that's not a possibility, then supplementing is your answer. And there's nothing wrong with taking a vitamin D supplement. So many of us need to do that.
Thank you. A question for Sister Nar again. How does caffeine affect your immunity? Is having 2 cups of coffee a day too much?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So 2 cups of coffee is absolutely okay to have. If you're having more than 4 or 5, that's when some people can get very jittery, and that can just become very overactive. And that's when it can impair their sleep. So again, with caffeine, the 2 things you want to be careful with is your sleep. You don't want it to compromise your sleep, and you don't want it to add to your stress levels. So for some people, when they do have a lot of caffeine, it just gets them really worked up, right? They're having all that energy, all that adrenaline. And if they're in a stressful state and having a lot of caffeine, that's just going to dampen their immunity, because stress is such a big factor when it comes to helping our immune system. So if you don't have any problems with sleep or managing your stress and you're a coffee drinker, then that's fine. But if you notice that caffeine can impair your sleep and kind of add to your stress and make you more anxious, which it can, then you want to scale back on it. So definitely after 2 p.m., you really don't want to have any caffeine. And for each person, the way they metabolize it is completely different. Some people can tolerate it very well, some people can't. So it all is up to that person. But generally, 2 cups of coffee is absolutely okay to have.
Thank you. For Sister Zahra, so this viewer says that I'm 59. I have breathing issues, no motivation for exercise. What do you recommend for someone, I guess, who's almost a senior, perhaps is having some difficulties breathing? What kind of modified exercises would you recommend for someone like that?
So first of all, there's never any age where you can't start exercising. So that's great. I'm glad that they're looking to get active, whatever age you are, regardless. So it's a lot of times the breathing and the cardiovascular health that we have is affected by lack of exercise. If you're not exercising, sometimes what's happening when we're exercising is we're trying to get oxygen into our blood system, and you start breathing heavily because you're trying to access that oxygen. So the more fit you get, the easier it becomes. So what I would say is, again, start slow. If it's just a 10-minute walk that you can do, that's totally fine. If it's, if you have a hallway or something going back and forth, and you've just got to build on top of that. So knowing your limits and knowing when you can give yourself a little bit of a push if you want to work on increasing that cardiovascular health as well. And like we did at the end with Ahmed, just doing some deep breathing as well, because a lot of times we don't know how to take those deep breaths and we don't know how to maximize the breaths that we're taking. So like I said, doing a little bit of exercise and just slowly building a little bit a day. And then it's amazing once you are a little bit consistent, you realize that you can become fitter and you do notice your cardiovascular health getting stronger. You realize yourself not getting as tired as much. So making sure you're consistent and adding in a little bit every day. And then also if he's having trouble breathing, or she, just making sure that you're taking deep breaths as well. And that can help too, even when you're not exercising, just throughout the day, taking some time for some deep breaths. And that can help as well when you're exercising. So you can make sure that you're taking deep breaths and utilizing that oxygen to the maximum.
Thank you. One of the questions we've received, and I think you've touched on this already, is that push-ups are difficult for seniors. What are some of the alternate exercises they can undertake? But one of the other questions that's come in is that can I do these exercises while holding on to something if I cannot stand without support? So maybe holding on to a chair or something to support myself. Is that okay?
Yes, 100%. So if you need to hold on to the back of the chair while you're doing squats or something, definitely your safety is number one, right? So if you need to be against a wall or if you need to be holding on to a chair, if you can still get yourself up and down and that chair is there to support you, for sure, 100% use that support, because that will give you the confidence to be able to do the exercise. So the idea is to get the exercise to get you to feel stronger. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We don't want to injure ourselves. So if you need that chair for support, 100% use it.
Sister Anar, so there's someone who says that they're on antidepressants. They exercise regularly. They eat mostly healthy. Can antidepressants cause weight gain?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are some antidepressants that can cause weight gain, absolutely. And that's something that you need to speak with your doctor about to see, depending on your dosage, depending on which medication you're on. There are some that are not, people don't tend to gain that much weight on it. So that's a conversation to have with your doctor to see. Also the dosage as well. But that's amazing. Kudos to that person for exercising and for eating well. Those are two things that can hugely impact your mood and your energy levels, as well as, helping manage your depression and anxiety. But yeah, antidepressants can unfortunately lead to some weight gain.
Thank you. So 2 more questions for Sister Anar, both related to zinc.
Okay.
When you take zinc, should you be balancing it with copper? And second question again, related to zinc, can zinc also increase your blood pressure?
Okay. So with zinc, it depends on how much you're supplementing with and what your diet currently looks like. So if you are supplementing, you don't want to have more than 5 milligrams of zinc a day extra, because you really want to get in, because it's definitely, you're able to get in zinc through food choices. If you have too much zinc, that could lead to a copper deficiency. So that's something that you need to talk to your doctor about to see where the copper would come in. But again, for a supplemental form, you don't really want to go over 5 milligrams of supplementation for zinc. And zinc is, you can definitely, depending, so there are some conditions where you would need to supplement with zinc, especially if you have digestive issues like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. People's zinc needs are higher. But again, even up to 5 to 10 milligrams of zinc, that's where you want to keep it at. And if you're getting anything more than that, then you just need to speak to your doctor.
Okay. Sister Anar, what about potassium for immunity?
Yeah, so yes, potassium does help. It's pretty much all the foods that I outlined, especially the fruit and vegetables. So foods that are high in vitamin C typically are high in potassium as well. There are a few other vitamins and minerals that help with immunity, but the 4 that I outlined are just very prominent. So that's the ones that I want you to start with. And with vitamin C, pretty much every food that has vitamin C is also going to be a good source of potassium as well. So you're kind of covered if you just concentrate on the vitamin C.
Okay. Sister Zahra, and I'm not going to pretend to understand this question, but I'm sure you will. What is the role of exercise on mitochondria?
That's a very, so exercise overall just helps your cells. It helps with your blood circulation. So it will, that's things that went back to when I was learning in university, but it can help in terms of strengthening your cells as well.
Yeah, so Zara, you probably already know this, but exercise is one of the few things that actually boost the mitochondria, like the cell health.
Yeah.
So exercise is very powerful in that regard for your cellular health.
Okay. Question for Sister Anar. I'm 35. When I eat a full meal, I still feel hungry after 30 minutes to an hour, and I'm having to eat constantly. Is there an issue that I should seek medical attention for if I'm constantly hungry even after I eat a full meal?
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. It's so hard for me to give advice because I don't know the diet history. I don't know anything else. But definitely if this is something that's new, that's happened in the last few months, that you've noticed that you're insatiable, that you're constantly hungry, just meeting with someone to kind of take a better look at your diet to see if there's any nutritional gaps. I think number one, that would be a great way to kind of figure that out. And just making sure the quality of the foods that you're getting in are there. Again, focusing on the sleep. If you're getting enough sleep in your every day, that's important. Stress as well. That all plays into your hunger. So I think, talking to a dietitian to see if there's any gaps in your current eating patterns, I think that would be a great place to start.
Thank you. Question for Sister Anar again. What is your take on intermittent fasting?
Okay.
Do you recommend it? And then I'll maybe even ask Sister Zahra to see if she can chime in on her thoughts after.
Yeah. So I actually wrote a very detailed blog post on intermittent fasting. It's up on my website, anaraladina.com. And I go over the recent studies because there was a few very recent studies that happened at the end of the year about the benefits of intermittent fasting. So for the short answer, I totally think it's great. I mean, being Muslim, we know our fasts are much, especially in the summer months, are much longer and a lot more restricted. And nothing really happens to us. Our health is still intact. So intermittent fasting, you're just having intervals of when you're eating and when you're not eating. So the intervals that when you are eating, you just want to maximize your nutrition as much as you can. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so intermittent fasting, I think it's great. It's great for, there's so many studies that show with your brain health, for aging, but you just want to make sure you're doing it properly. So first of all, I encourage you to read my blog post on it. It goes into a ton of details because it's much more than weight loss. It's more about your overall health and for aging and inflammation. So I don't know if Sarah had anything to add.
Yeah, Sister Sarah, do you want to add anything?
No, same thing. I get a lot of people asking me in terms of weight loss and health benefits. I think one way it can help is, even a couple of the questions that Anar got, was that sometimes if, like for us, we know we're not allowed to eat, right, when we're fasting. So it just kind of stops you from snacking and eating without really thinking consciously of what you're eating. And I'm sure Anar's article goes into detail, but yeah, just trying to figure out what window of eating works best for you and trying to figure out the time as well. Making sure you're staying, if you're not fasting, obviously in terms of Ramadan, making sure you're staying hydrated as well when you're in intermittent fasting. And exercise, I'll add to that, while you're in intermittent fasting, just making sure, again, a lot of people can exercise on an empty stomach, but some people can't. So you have to play around and see what works best for you in terms of if you are going to be exercising in that window when you're not eating, or when you're coming out of your fast. So making sure that, there's different things that work for different people, but in terms of exercise and intermittent fasting, making sure that when you're working out, you have to see what works best for you. Some people can work out on an empty stomach. Some people need a little bit of nutrition in them in order to work out effectively.
Thank you. Sister Zara, if for someone who has fibromyalgia with aches and pains and finds it very difficult to exercise, what do you advise? Well, what's your advice for someone with that condition?
That's a tough one. And again, when someone suffers fibromyalgia, it's different, might be different every day, might be different for different people. So maybe your idea of exercise may be different than what someone else's idea of exercise be, whether it's just even sitting on your bed or in a couch and just making sure you're able to stretch out. Sometimes it's just making sure that the muscles are still being able to move and getting that blood flowing. You've got to see what works best for you, but just keeping some sort of activity. So it might not be a vigorous jog or, the type of exercises we were showing before. It might just be simple stretching, moving of the body. It's important to keep the body moving because that can also help with reducing pain as well. But again, just taking it nice and slow and just getting to know what your body can do, but trying to move your body a little bit every day will help.
Sister Nar, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, with fibromyalgia, again, even looking at your food, right? Because some of the foods can cause inflammation. So just keeping a journal to log in when you have fibromyalgia. Some days are better than others, some days are worse. So just keeping a log to see, when you had a good day, what foods you had then, and try to kind of be consistent with it. And again, yes, just moving in general is so important for your joints.
Thank you. So it's almost 10 o'clock, and I'd like to wrap it up by 10 o'clock. So we'll take a couple more questions. This one's for Sister Nar. With protein shakes, can you add dairy, like regular milk? Usually in most recipes, I see that they say you should be adding dairy-free milk. Mm-hmm. Wondering what your thoughts are on just adding regular
milk? Yeah. So absolutely. You can use whatever milk you like. A lot of people are intolerant to dairy or don't like it. So that's why that's always an option. But if you're able to tolerate cow's milk, then that's great. It's a really good source of protein. I think soy milk is the one right after that that's highest in protein. But cow's milk, yes, a lot of good protein in it. And if you're able to tolerate it, then yes, absolutely you can enjoy that.
Okay, for Sister Anar again, we know that birth control pills have an effect on our hormones. Do they cause weight gain? Mm-hmm. And if so, how can I tackle that?
Okay, so there are so many different types of birth control pills on the market. There are some that have very little weight gain. So that's a conversation. If that's something that, if weight gain is something that's really important to you, then having that conversation with your doctor to see which pill would be the best one to prevent weight gain, and there are, that would be your best choice. Sorry, was there another part to that question?
No, that was
it. Yeah, but if there's any way that you can not use birth control, that would be ideal. I know that's not for everyone, but if you can kind of, not be dependent on the birth control, then that would be your best bet, because that way you're not putting any hormones in your body and you have control of your whole system.
Again, a question for Sister Anar. In terms of collagen, are there any recommendations on collagen in liquid form? I mostly see powdered forms out in the market.
Okay, so I've only seen powdered ones as well. Zara, have you seen any liquid collagen?
I have seen some liquid collagen, yeah. But is there a difference in its absorption? I don't.
Okay, another question I had. Actually, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask one last question to both our presenters, and then we'll have them both answer, and then we'll wrap it up. And you have seen the contact details of both Sister Anar and Sister Zara at the end of their presentations. Please do feel free to reach out to them if your questions haven't been answered. I think we've answered most of our questions, of the questions that have been submitted to us. But the question I'd have for both our presenters, many of us are overwhelmed by all of the suggestions of changes that we need to make in our own lifestyles. What are the sort of top 3 pieces of advice that you could give to our viewers? Where do we start? Sometimes when you're faced with a huge presentation with lots of recommendations, you don't even know where to begin. And sometimes, all it takes is a few baby steps to get started. So if you were to recommend the top 3 things to our viewers that you would suggest from a nutrition and fitness standpoint, what would you recommend?
Okay, so I'll go first.
I think Sister Nar's frozen. Sister Zara, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, maybe I can get you to go first.
Sure. I thought I froze, but yeah. So it is. It's overwhelming.
Oops. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was talking, so I don't know. I think it kind of froze for a second.
Sorry, Sister Nara, I think you as soon as you began responding, your screen froze. So maybe if you could.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Zara.
Okay, so it's overwhelming, and a lot of times I think we have this guilt because everyone's like, you have all this time, you can do this, you can do that, and it can get overwhelming because there's so much uncertainty, and a lot of us are going through anxiety, and you kind of feel crippled because you don't know what new routine, you don't know how long this is going to last. So 3 things I would recommend are to try to get as much sleep. And I talked a lot about sleep. I believe in that as well. It's it's one of the cornerstones. And I think this is one time where we can get enough sleep. We don't have to wake up early to be anywhere. And we've become a society that's become so sleep deprived. So sleep is a huge thing. I think you can try and focus on at this time. Being active daily, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot, just something to get your heart rate up just a little bit, to move a little bit. If you can be active every day, I think that's super important. And I also think I actually love what Anar was saying as well, that try and make these family activities. So if you're cooking together, that's great. If you're being active together, that's great as well. So really, so you're not the only one that feels like, oh, I need to go and do my 20 minutes. Get the whole family involved, or I'm the only one cooking. Get the whole family involved as well. We've got this time where we can spend with our families, and instead of taking it all on for yourself and feeling like you have to take it all on, try to get your family involved as well. I think that's the most important thing you can do.
Thank you. Sister Anar, maybe if you could just start all over again with your...
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Yeah, so I had mentioned in my presentation as well. So the number one thing is you can try to cook more, right? So we have the time, a little bit more time now, trying to make most of your meals as much as you can. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just cooking more, I think, is the best thing you can do. This way, if you have kids, they can also see that as well. So it's something that, you know, it's learning for them. So when they get older, this is what they need to do. So cooking more of your meals, number one. Number two is try to focus on getting your vegetable intake in. Okay, a lot of people don't have problems getting fruit in, but with vegetables, try to aim at least 2 out of your 3 meals to have a vegetable component. It could be cooked, raw, you know, it could be a soup, it could be a smoothie. Just try to get some of those vegetables in because there's so many good nutrients in that, right? It has a lot of fiber, a lot of vitamins and minerals. And lastly, just some, you know, just take your time while you're eating as well, just to help with your digestion. So digestion occurs in our mouth when we chew, and a lot of us don't chew our food enough, you know, so even just counting how many times you chew. So try to aim for 10 chews before you swallow. Just slowing down and being more mindful can really help with digestion, and it can also help with your hunger cues as well. So just being a little bit more mindful, getting more veggies in, and cooking more of your meals.
Thank you. So with that, we'll wrap things up. I just wanted to take the opportunity once again to thank both of our presenters for their detailed presentations and insightful responses. We had over 300 viewers, I think, tuned in to our presentation this evening. So I'm sure the audience benefited tremendously from your presentations. But I think we'll all agree that the star of today's presentation was definitely Ahmed. And therefore we'll request a salawat from everybody for Ahmed. And with that, inshallah, stay safe, and inshallah we'll stay tuned for our next program, inshallah, next Monday. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.